So, we're about to dive into this really wild story about a monkey that basically took over a city. Sounds kind of strange, I know, but stick with me because what's really fascinating is how this one animal reveals a hidden paradox that applies to, well, every single one of us.
So let me just ask you, have you ever heard of the mystery monkey of Tampa? Think back to around 2012. It was this crazy story making headlines in Florida, but honestly, it flew under the radar for a lot of people. And look, this wasn't just some brief sighting. No way. This Rhesus macaque became a total local legend. We're talking more than 3 years living on the city streets, surviving on whatever it could scavenge. It was street smart, dodging cars like a pro, and was so clever that it kept outwitting the wildlife officials who were trying everything to catch it.
So, how does a monkey become an international celebrity? Well, its story just exploded during the 2012 Republican National Convention. All of a sudden, Tampa's flooded with politicians and journalists, and this one clever animal becomes this perfect furry metaphor for the whole political circus. You just can't make this stuff up. It was like the ultimate political Rorschach test, you know? What do you see in the monkey? For libertarians and liberals, they saw a hero, a symbol of freedom resisting unjust authority. But for conservatives, they looked at the same monkey and saw something totally different. A perfect example of an inept, wasteful government that couldn't even catch one animal. One monkey, two completely opposite political takes. But, you know, beyond all that political noise, most people were just asking a much simpler question. What on earth is a single monkey doing in the middle of suburban Florida? Right? It obviously didn't belong there.
Okay, so let's just push all the politics aside for a second. What if we look at this whole thing not as a voter, but through the eyes of a biologist? Well, the story changes completely. It stops being about government or freedom, and it becomes about something way more fundamental: evolution.
And here's the big twist. To a biologist, this monkey's surviving in Tampa wasn't weird at all. In fact, it was kind of predictable. See, Rhesus macaques are one of the most adaptable species on the planet. They can thrive in mountains, grasslands, and yep, even our cities. So this mystery monkey, it was just doing what its species does best, adapting to a strange new world. And that right there brings us to the core question of this whole thing. We look at that monkey and think, wow, what a strange creature in a place it doesn't belong. But what happens when we turn that question around on ourselves? Are we really any different? And there it is. That's the central idea. From an evolutionary perspective, we are the mystery monkeys. The modern world we live in is just as out of place for our bodies as suburban Tampa was for that macaque. Our concrete jungles, that's our suburban Florida. I mean, just stop and think about the sheer scale of this mismatch. For almost all of human history, we lived as hunter-gatherers in these small nomadic bands. Compare that to today. We live in cities and suburbs. We rely on cars, toilets, air conditioning, cell phones, highly processed food. The two environments couldn't be more alien to each other. And when you look at this on an evolutionary timeline, it's just staggering. For 95% of our history, we were hunter-gatherers. Agriculture only showed up about 10,000 years ago, and our modern industrial world, that's barely 200 years old. In evolutionary time, that's not even a blink of an eye. Our bodies and our brains were literally shaped for a world that no longer exists. So, this raises a really critical question, doesn't it? If we are so fundamentally mismatched with our own world, how concerned should we actually be? I mean, is this a disaster waiting to happen? And here's where the story takes a really surprising turn. Because despite this massive evolutionary mismatch, humanity isn't just surviving, we are thriving in completely unprecedented ways. Surprisingly, the answer is maybe we shouldn't be that concerned. Thanks to all the incredible progress in medicine, technology, and society, life for the average human today is remarkably good. You could say that we, the mystery monkeys, have managed to build ourselves a very, very comfortable cage. Want some proof? Let's just start with the most basic number there is: our population. There are now over 7 billion of us on the planet. By the most basic biological metric, sheer numbers, our species is an absolute runaway success. And this progress isn't just in wealthy nations, not at all. Take India, for example. In 1970, the average life expectancy there was under 50. Today, it's more than 65. That's a monumental leap in human well-being in just a couple of generations.
So the bottom line is this. Billions of people alive today are going to live longer, healthier lives with comforts that even kings and queens from a few centuries ago couldn't have imagined.
And by the way, all of these ideas we've been exploring, they come from this fantastic source, the book The Story of the Human Body by Harvard professor Daniel Lieberman. It's an incredible deep dive into this very paradox.
So what happened to our monkey? Well, its story finally came to an end in October 2012, when it was captured. Its time as a symbol of wild freedom was over. But our story, the story of the human mystery monkeys, that's just getting started.
And that leaves us with one final fascinating question to think about. We've proven that we're a species that can thrive in an environment we were never built for. We've used our ingenuity to overcome our own biological limitations. So, where do we go from here? What comes next?